Welcome to the Fighter Index, where every attribute matters. Today's breakdown is UFC bantamweights Jean Matsumoto and Farid Basharat, who meet at UFC Fight Night. In the UFC Apex Center on February 7th, Jean Matsumoto fights with a quiet confidence that suffocates opponents over time. He doesn't rush, he doesn't panic, and he doesn't give away positions. Every clinch has purpose. Every takedown leads to control. Once he gets on top, he turns minutes into momentum and momentum into rounds. He wins by making fights smaller, slower, and harder to escape, breaking opponents down with discipline, pressure, and composure rather than chaos. Against most fighters, if Jean Matsumoto gets his hands on you, the fight starts slipping away. Jean Matsumoto's style is effective, but narrow. He doesn't overwhelm with speed, power, or damage, and when opponents deny his grappling, his offense can stall. He rarely forces urgency, rarely creates sudden danger, and often relies on control rather than punishment. Farid Basharat fights with clarity and control that quietly frustrates opponents. He sees threats early, shuts down chaos, and forces fights to be fought on his terms. His defense is layered, his positioning is disciplined, and his decisions rarely crack under pressure. Basharat doesn't chase moments, he gathers them. Round by round, he denies openings, limits damage, and turns discipline into victories. Farid Basharat's structure can also limit his ceiling. He rarely forces urgency, rarely spikes damage, and often prioritizes safety over separation. When opponents refuse to overextend, his fights can stall into low-impact minutes. Without big moments or finishing threats, rounds become close and momentum stays neutral. Against fighters who can match his discipline or disrupt his rhythm, Basharat risks winning exchanges, but not clearly winning fights. Jean Matsumoto enters with a 17-1 pro record and 4 UFC bouts under his belt, while Farid Basharat comes in perfect at 14-0 as a pro and unbeaten in the Octagon. Matsumoto's experience edges Basharat in total fights, but Basharat's spotless record makes this clash as much about momentum as skill. Jean Matsumoto gives up 2 inches in height at 5'6" and about 3 inches of reach, compared to Farid Basharat. Matsumoto is known to fight out of either stance, while Farid traditionally stays in the orthodox stance. Jean Matsumoto carries a roughly 94% career win rate, while Farid Basharat remains perfect at 100%. Matsumoto finishes slightly more often, ending about 53% of his wins, compared to Basharat closer to an even split between finishes and decisions. Matsumoto shows more knockout intent, Basharat brings a heavier submission threat, and when fights stretch late, Basharat's control tends to shape the outcome. Now it's time to break these fighters down using the Fighter Index scale. We break down each phase of the fight and score each attribute to better understand the strengths and weaknesses of a fighter's game. Pillar 1, Fight IQ and Athletic Tools, is the stress test of this matchup. Farid Basharat holds the edge in Fight IQ, an 8 to Jean Matsumoto's 7, giving him sharper reads and cleaner adjustments when exchanges break down. Athleticism is even at 6, and both fighters post 7s in stamina and resolve. Neither man fades, neither breaks under pressure. But with the clearest edge coming in decision-making, this pillar ultimately favors Farid Basharat. Pillar 2, Striking and stand-up defense, defines who wins the exchanges on the feet. Farid Basharat holds a narrow edge in striking, 6 to Jean Matsumoto's 5, but Jean answers back in the clinch with a 7 to Farid's 6. The biggest gap shows up in striking defense, where Farid's 8 clearly outpaces Jean's 6. With both men carrying a 6 chin, durability is even, but over time, the cleaner, safer striker gives this pillar to Farid Basharat. Pillar 3, Grappling and Control, decides who gets to dictate where this fight takes place. Both fighters score a 7 in wrestling, but Jean Matsumoto starts to separate when the fight hits the mat. He holds a 7-6 edge in takedown offense, an 8-7 advantage in top control, and a 7-6 lead in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Farid Basharat can compete here, but in extended grappling exchanges, this pillar favors Jean Matsumoto. Pillar 4, Defense, Scrambles, and Ground Survival, measures how hard a fighter is to control. Farid Basharat leads across the board, scoring a 7 to John Matsumoto's 6. In takedown defense, an 8 to 7 edge in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu defense, and a 6 to 5 advantage fighting off his back. The biggest gap comes in scrambles, where Farid's 8 outpaces Gene's 6. When it comes to escaping danger and refusing to be held down, this pillar strongly favors Farid Basharat. The paths to victory are clear and sharply defined. For John Matsumoto, the fight swings his way when he can force grappling, using his edge in takedown offense, top control, and jiu-jitsu to slow the pace and trap Farid Basharat on the mat. For Farid, the advantage comes in chaos. Cleaner striking defense, sharper fight IQ, and elite scrambling that keeps him off his back and winning exchanges on the feet. Ultimately, the outcome hinges on whether the fight is controlled and grounded, or fast, fluid, and constantly resetting. On the fighter index, this matchup is razor thin, but Farid Basharat comes out just ahead. His sharper fight IQ, cleaner striking defense, and elite scrambling give him a narrow 6.8 to 6.5 edge over John Matsumoto. It's not a blowout, just a slight advantage across more phases of the fight. If you have different scores for a fighter, put them in the comments and defend your position. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more fighter breakdowns and fighter index scores.